Welcome. A short video on using the rib tool. I think I've done something on the rib tool before, but maybe not enough. There are one or two things to keep in mind before you start using the tool, is that you need to have a sketch that outlines where the rib is going to start and end, and the sketch has to be in the same plane as looking at the rib from the top. So let's say I wanted to put ribs across this item. I'd either have to start from a plane over here, or put a plane in, or start from the bottom plane. There are various ways of doing this. So I'm going to do something fairly, let's see if we can do this. I'm going to take the top plane, which is where my sketch already exists for this whole bust. I'm going to put a sketch in there. So sketch, right, and I just want it to face the other way, so I click the normal 2 button again, and then you just start sketching lines which indicate where you want the ribs to go. Now the lines don't have to touch the edges of what you're looking at. They can be shorter than, and they can also extend, as far as I know, they can extend into the item, but it's actually just safer to make them go to be shorter than the total distance. So that's one. I'm going to give this a pattern, a sketch pattern. So I'm going to go with maybe 3, 4 of those in this one here. Let's get this down to 1, right? And I want it to go in the opposite direction, and I want to increase the spacing. So I'm going to make that 3. Alright, so that's my sketch in place. I'll show you just what happens if I want the sketch. I mean, most of you are going to want to do this. If I want the sketch to stop at this point, at that point there, then I need to make sure that this line, this vertical line, doesn't extend beyond that point. I'm going to put another line in. And normally I would dimension all of these, but I'm not going to do that this time, just to save on time. So that would be my sketch, my rib sketch. And I want you to notice what happens between that line and that line. So exit the sketch and go to the rib tool, and I say I want, okay, it's already chosen that sketch. And here you can see you can set the thickness of the rib. So I'm going to put it 1 for now. You can see you've got these 2 extrusion directions. If I go with the parallel to sketch 1, it'll go in the opposite direction. Instead of going down, it'll go across. So that's not what I want to do. And the moment I click on the draft button, you'll see some alternatives appear above it. So I'm going to put in a draft of 0.5, okay, and then go back to the width of the rib thickness, and here I can determine what my rib will be at root. Remember, it needs to be no more than 2/3 of the thickness of the wall that you've created the part in. So I think my wall thickness here is 1.2. A very simple way to do this is type in your wall thickness, use the star button, which is the equivalent of times, and then type in 0.6 or 0.66 or whatever it is that you want it to be, and it'll give you the figure, which is 60% or less. In this case, 60%. It'll do the calculation for you. You don't have to do anything else. So at the moment it's facing the wrong way. I want it to face it the other way, right? And then that figure, I want it to be at wall interface. All that means is that when this rib hits this wall, its thickness will be 0.72 millimeters, and it'll go back up by 0.5. I hope that's not too complex. And then I need to just select the body, okay, and say yes. Let's see what happens. So there we go. They're my ribs. Very, very simple. They've got their tapers in. If I measure them, I'll find that distance there is 0.72. There we go, 0.72. And if I measure my wall thickness, let's just get rid of both of these, between there and there, that's 1.2. So perfect. That's exactly what I want. So look at what happened with this line that I sketched just to a certain point. It'll continue till it meets another wall. So that's the way that you stop your ribs going beyond the point that you don't want them. You just make sure that you don't draw them beyond the point of the other one. So let me just go back into the sketch. So you make sure that this sketch is either short of that one or touches it, but doesn't go beyond it. So you can see this one on this line, it's going to, the rib's going to extend to that line, to that wall there. Right, so let's say for instance that I don't want the rib to go from the top, I want it to go from a little bit beneath. I should be able to go here and I should be able to say offset. No, it isn't in here. Right. So we'll have to do that again. So I think I'd said to one or two of you, and I'd said to Thurston that you could use the rib tool to offset where the sketch starts from. You can't actually do that. Let's just go edit feature. There is no opportunity for an offset. So I think what you'd have to do then is, if you wanted your rib to start from a bit lower, then you'd have to go back into the sketch. Well, let's just do this. So I'm going to change the starting point, and I'm going to put in a plane. I'm going to offset a plane from that point by, let's say, 1 millimeter in the opposite direction. Flip. Okay. So this is where the feature tree is enormously helpful and powerful. You can just put new features in as long as they're in the right place. See, that plane has to be in place before I can go and change the sketch. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on the sketch and I'm going to say edit the sketch plane. The sketch plane I had chosen originally was that face. I want it to be this plane instead, so I just go and select that plane. There it is there. And now when I say OK, you'll see that the rib starts 1 millimeter below that wall. That simple. So I hope this helps, and we'll speak to you later. Cheers.